What if I told you the parts of yourself you've hidden away aren't gone at all? They're just waiting for the moment you're ready to welcome them back. The triggers you hate, the emotions you push down, they're not the problem. They're doorways to becoming whole again. We live in a world defined by opposites. Hot, cold, up, down, light, dark, pleasure, pain, life, death. Even the way we think about people is often shaped by this sense of what we call duality, good or bad, safe or unsafe, lovable or unlovable. Duality is an innate part of life. It's not inherently a problem. In fact, it helps us make sense of our experiences. But there's a difference between recognizing opposites and being trapped inside them. As adults, part of emotional maturity is learning to hold both sides of the picture at once, to know that joy and sorrow can coexist, that a person can be both loving and flawed, that we can be imperfect yet still worthy. But as young children, our nervous systems aren't yet ready for that complexity. The developing psyche needs clarity. It needs life to feel safe and predictable. And when it doesn't, the mind steps in to protect us. One of the earliest ways it does this is through what we call splitting. Splitting is the mind's way of simplifying reality so it feels manageable. Imagine a child who depends entirely on a parent for love and safety, but who is also hurt by that same parent. Maybe through neglect, anger, or emotional absence. That contradiction is simply too much for the child to hold. So they divide the parent into two versions in their mind: the good parent who loves them and the bad parent who hurts them. The child will cling to the good version to preserve the parental relationship because their survival depends on it. The other side, the pain, the anger, the disappointment, gets pushed away. Over time, this black and white thinking shapes the way the child sees themselves too. I'm glad when I'm pleasing others. I'm bad when I have needs. This is the birth of self-limiting beliefs. In healthy development, we eventually grow beyond splitting and learn to integrate the mixed nature of people and situations. But in unsafe or invalidating environments, the split hardens. And when it does, another process kicks in called repression. If splitting is the dividing, repression is the burying. Once a painful truth or threatening emotion has been split off, the psyche locks it away deep in the unconscious mind. This isn't a conscious choice. It's the mind's way of saying, you can't handle this right now, so I'll keep it out of sight. It's like sealing off a room in the house of the self, a room filled with memories, feelings and beliefs that were just too overwhelming at the time. Repression protects us in the short term, but those experiences never get processed. They remain frozen in a kind of timeless paradigm, untouched and unresolved. And over time, the psyche finds another way to keep them invisible through what we call discounting. Discounting is a somewhat more cognitive defense that is designed to maintain repression. Discounting is how we explain away or minimize simply what's too difficult to face. It's when we have a situation that has the potential to remind us of a negative childhood experience and then tell ourselves, well, it wasn't that bad. Or I'm just being too sensitive. Or, yeah, that's all in the past. I should have moved on. This isn't about consciously lying to ourselves. It's a survival reflex learned in childhood. To acknowledge the full truth back then would have been too threatening to our sense of belonging or safety. So the mind made the pain smaller, even invisible. But here's the thing. What's repressed doesn't completely vanish. It sinks into the unconscious mind, waiting for a way back. And it can leak out either acutely through what we call triggers and also chronically through projections. We are more susceptible to these leakages as adults when we're overwhelmed with stress. Now, a trigger is an emotional flashback, something in the present, a tone of voice, a facial expression, a small disappointment unlocks a flood of negative feelings from the past. A partner raises their voice and suddenly fear floods in. A friend cancels plans and a deep feeling of abandonment can take over. These moments aren't really about what's happening now. They're about what's been locked away in the unconscious mind for years. Now, projections work more subtly. If we've buried our anger, we start to see other people as aggressive. If we've repressed our vulnerability, we begin to view others as weak. Projection lets us interact with these split off parts of ourselves without having to consciously own them. Clever. Both triggers and projections are not signs of failure. They're signs that repressed parts of the self are knocking on the door, wanting to be acknowledged, wanting to come home. And this is where therapy can be so powerful. The work is to create a safe space where we can gently retrieve what was split, repressed, and discounted. In my own model, the Filial Psyche, I describe three main parts of our inner world. The inner child holds the raw and processed emotions, fear, shame, longing, hurt, that were never fully met growing up. The inner critic is the voice we internalize from those who judged or rejected us growing up, and it often works to keep repressed material buried. Now, the inner nurturing parent is the part we have to consciously develop as adults, the one that can bring compassion, protection, and truth into our inner dialogue. When our nurturing parent becomes strong enough, it can sit with both sides of the split. It can say, yeah, you were hurt. Yes, you did what you had to do to survive. And yes, you are still worthy of love. It can welcome the parts of ourselves we've hidden and allow them to finally integrate. Splitting, repression, and discounting aren't flaws. They're natural survival strategies. They are evidence of our ability to adapt, but once kept us safe, can now keep us stuck. And triggers and projections are not to be feared. They are portals for change. Each one points to a part of us still waiting to be recognized, still yearning to be reintegrated. Healing is not about erasing the past. It's about reclaiming the parts of ourselves we were forced to hide. Integration doesn't remove duality. It gives us the strength to hold both sides at once without being torn apart by them. That is the movement from fragmentation to integration, and it is the journey towards wholeness. If you'd like help moving from fragmentation to integration by healing old wounds and minimizing triggers, visit my website, book a free discovery call, and let's see what's possible.